legislature, kick it to them. Because yeah, we'd be in favor of it. It takes the burden off the anglers and it puts it where it should be, kind of like the pay to play. As long as it's not too expensive, you'll get kayakers and rafters in. You know, unless it's 20 bucks and you got one guy with 5 kayaks, you know, that's $100 out of his pocket. But something reasonable per year is fine. I think that would work.
Just pay attention because these proposals go to public comment before they're moved forward, and we've seen the draft language for the new AIS fees, and there'll be a public comment opportunity where you guys can comment and let your voice be heard, and that they actually do react to those. So.
Yeah, well, much more so than you believe, much more so than we talk.
Right.
If it comes from the public, they carry more weight than we do.
I was just interested in what you felt about it, son.
Yeah, no, I think it's fair. You know, that's the way it should be. I know something on Bitter Lake specific. Your boat ramp is a county boat ramp. It's not one of our fishing access sites. So stuff that takes place on the county boat ramp, we really can't deal with. It's when they get on the water, that's when our enforcement comes in.
Yeah, it's really tricky.
Yeah, and it's one of those tricky parts. If they're on the water, they're on the water. And realize boaters, kind of like if you bought a house next to a school, on the other side of that school property line, kids can play and do all that stuff. And we realize some boaters are really good and nice, some boaters don't have a clue. You know, that's what we were talking about earlier. If you see that, and if you're a volunteer and you're at the boat ramp or you're out on the water, kindness kind of kills a lot of guys, and you can guilt them into it more than yelling at them and screaming. And the worst thing we hate is when you threaten, hey, the game warden's going to come here and he's going to write you a ticket. Odds are we're either on Flathead Lake, Thompson Chain of Lakes, Tally Lake, Echo Lake, Bitterroot Lake. You know, not Bitterroot Lake yet, but we're going to get here, McGregor. But the more you make these idle threats and we don't show up, the more it doesn't work. If you see a violation, probably the biggest thing we can do nowadays, if you got a cell phone, take a picture, but what we really need is that boat hull number, the MT number, and just say, on this day, this boat was doing this activity, and if you can, at least tell us what the driver kind of looked like, so we can say, it was a boat, and he goes, no, my buddy borrowed it, it wasn't me that day, you can't write me a ticket because I'm not responsible for my boat, the buddy drove it. But if you say it was a guy, early 50s, you know, 3 kids in the boat and a wife, and they were doing this on that day, that really helps. And we will have to say, you're gonna have to sign a statement and go to court on it if it gets challenged, because I didn't observe it, so I'm basically going on your behalf. And your game warden up here is Wes Odekoven. Anybody met him yet? Yeah. Wes patrols this lake, and Nate Moon in the back right there will be working with Wes this summer. He's our new AIS warden, primarily has some AIS responsibility, but he's gonna do a lot of boat work in the Flathead Valley area. So he might work with Wes on occasions, at least he will this summer a little bit. So, and Wes has a big district. He's got Ashley Lake, Bitterroot, Thompson Chain of Lake, Rogers Lake. So on the weekends, he gets stretched kind of thin. But we would say if you see something, at least let us know, and maybe he can shift his patrol strategy to maybe match those days. You know, weekends, like I said, he's really busy with the Thompson Chain of Lake stuff, but I know he gets over here and tries to get this lake as much as he can. Question? Yep.
Is there anything about noise pollution?
Yeah.
Noise isn't the real problem, it's the songs these kids are putting out. It's up to, I mean, the language is horribly.
Oh, yeah.
Kids out there, my grandkids in the water and all this crap's coming out of this boat.
Yeah, and this is a hard part for us. We do have noise restrictions, but the way our rules are written, it's because of the motor. So there's a decibel limit that the motors can exceed. It's even more restrictive on Flathead Lake. When it comes to a public nuisance issue of loud music, we hate to say it, we don't have anything by statute that we can write. It's got to go through the county on that. Obviously, if it's something really critical, foul language is going on, we can interject if we're out here. We can at least stop it, and we'd have to refer it to the county. So it's a strange way the laws are set up. We only have statutory power in our certain areas where the county is more general with that. And we can fudge a little bit, but when we start fudging, that's when we get in trouble. And once they realize it, then it's not really effective for us. So yeah, I understand that. And the county does have a boat patrol, and it's one of those let them know that you would like maybe some more coverage out here. I know they're on Flathead Lake a lot, but they could certainly come over here for a day, especially if you say every Saturday at this time, there's 5 boats out in the water and they're just booming and it's foul language. Let the county know, and maybe we can work with them on that issue, and we can go do the safety check and write our rules and regulations if there's something that comes up, and they can deal with that too. But that's where a heads up is a really good thing. And if people blow you off, let them know, because that kind of ups the hair on the back of our neck, and I know the county too. If they're disrespecting the rules and regulations, yeah, we need to look at them.
It seems like they out there just going and yelling and everything, and we're trying to just have a nice,
Peaceful time. Yeah, and that's a hard thing because everybody owns that water in the state. It's like having it next to a ball field. You know, ball games going, but that's not as obnoxious as I know some of the booming and language that comes out of those boats. It's everybody's water, but that doesn't mean you have the right to affect everybody else on the water too. So common sense is the best part of it. Other boating rules, regulations, we talked about that. Do you guys see a lot of young kids out there running boats?
Yes.
They're the ones with the music.
How old, though?
The
'Cause-
last couple years, I've seen
Teenagers.
a lot. They seem very young, but lots of people seem very young to me, so.
The older you get, the younger they look, I know.
So, it's been the last couple of years, and I see it especially on the other side, launching from there. They don't even look old enough to vote.
Yeah,
Definitely
and,
not old enough to drink, so, and what.
yeah, drinking on the water is a big deal.
Yeah.
Underage drinking, and that's where we can get the county more involved.
Is the county still, is the sheriff's department responsible for it, or do you?
They're we can write for unsafe operations, but if you want to do an MIP, minor in possession, that's going to be the county right now. Yeah, and we do try and work out something with them.
You
Pardon?
can pop those left and right over there.
See, and I would, as a group, I would go and talk to the county right now, and if you can put a stop on it early in the summer, I will tell you, you'll probably chase them off of this lake to some other lake, but at least it helps you guys out. And that's one of those, if you can jump on it early enough, that really helps.
I say that side is the younger drinkers, this side is what we call, my family calls the misfits. Maybe, don't have a whole lot of good things going on, or kind of hang out on this side.
Yeah, and kids, it goes through phases. We see that with party pits, out in the woods at night. There seems to be a couple of years really bad of it, and then it kind of dies out. And it probably had this ebb and flow in this lake too. But that's something we really hit the county with and say it's underage drinking. Like I said, we can address some of it, but we're going to turn it over to the county for MIPs because that's in our statute. We don't have that.
I probably missed it, but what's the operation age?
If they're 12 to 14, they have to have the boater safety course to operate anything over 10 horsepower. After 14, it's still Montana. So a lot of kids used to learn how to drive, but they were probably more responsible kids back then.
Yeah.
And unfortunately right now, yeah, they could. And that's what we don't want to see, especially with the jet skis, the PWCs. If you see young kids out there, because they act like, babysitters for a lot of adults, and they just let their kids run out there. If you see underage kids on PWCs, yeah, we can write those. We can write major boats too with that one.
What is the age on a wave runner for a child to be operating it?
Over 14, or he has to be with an adult.
Over 14, and then he's legal.
Yep.
And capacity? Each boat is different, I imagine.
Each one's different. It depends on where it's rated.
Okay.
With PWCs, we sell a lot of those where it may be a 3-person PWC, but that's because you have to still have an operator, you have to have an observer if you're towing, and then somebody behind you. So if you see a PWC or any boat that just has an operator and there's no observer and they're towing somebody around, that's going to be a violation. And we'll look at those pretty serious because that's where a lot of injuries come. Nobody's paying attention, either up front and they hit something. And just so you know, PWCs have a more enhanced regulations they have to follow. They have to stay 200 feet away from everybody. Swimmers in the water, other boats, other vessels where other boats don't. So that 200 foot applies to PWC over the whole lake and whole obstacles. For boats, it's just 200 foot from shore. And, you know, I'll tell you, it's really hard to judge 200 feet when they're, you know, 100 yards out there, especially when they're crossing behind there. So we hit it, you know, we patrol it, and like I said, we try and make our mark that people know when we're on the water, and they pretty much know when we're not on the water. Yes, ma'am.
A question about the orange flags.
Yep.
If there's a water skier down, is that the only time you use one of those?
Yes, you have to have orange flags, but believe it or not in Montana.
Oh, not in
Not in Montana. I love it when people do that, and I go over and I say, thank you so much, especially on a busy water. But in Montana, you don't have to have that orange flag when a skier's in the water. That's something, if you want to propose, you could bring that up to the legislature or our commission. You know, the commission could adopt rules like that. Like I said, I love it when people do that.
They sell the orange flags at all the boating shops,
Yep.
so they're available.
And usually that's how I can tell if it's a non-resident boater that came over. It's because the skier is down and they're waving that flag. It's like, yes, you know, I wish, but you really don't have to do that. But you know, I'll tell them thank you so much. That's really a good idea.
Yeah, we do use it too.
Oh yeah, and like I said, the commission can adopt some rules. Major legislative change has to go through the legislature.
Is that just a slow to catch up type thing, Montana's, or a rebel thing?
Yeah, it is, because Montana's still got that rural feel to it. I know Idaho and Washington, you have to actually have a boating course to operate boats on the water. And you could lose that boating license per se with violations. You know, God's seeking good luck getting that in Montana at this time. It's just part of where kids used to go out, and kids kind of grew up on the water, and boats weren't as big and as nasty and as mean. And it was a fun family activity where, you know, now it's getting taken a little more serious. So you might see that. I doubt it within the near future at all, but I know neighboring states have that right now. And it's not a bad one, because it teaches the rules of the road. And we're going to talk a little bit about that. Rules of the road for boats is a little different on who gives way, who's the stand-on, who's the stand-off vessel. What it really comes down to, I'll make it easy and I guess straightforward. Non-motorized always has a right-of-way over motorized. So they are basically, if you're in a canoe, somebody can't come and cut you off, you have the right-of-way. Sailboats have it too because they're non-motorized. It's one of those common courtesy things. Yes, you're supposed to pass on the right. You're supposed to honk before you pass. You can only do so if it's, you know, such and such a condition. It's really hard to enforce that out there because there's so many contingencies that take place. But rule of thumb, non-motorized has a right of way over motorized. The other thing, lights at night. This thing always trips up everybody. All right, if you're on the water at night, and night is from sundown to sunrise, what are your requirements for lights at night? Who's a boater? Can I pick on him? Nobody's got a boat? All right, my boater.
Dan has a
I'm on the water at night and I have those red and greens on. When do I have to have the red and greens on?
Dawn to dusk.
Huh?
Half an hour before.
No, dawn to dusk. When you're running the boats, those are called navigation lights. You have to have those on when the boat's in motion because that tells other boats which direction. Anytime you're on the water at night, you have to have that white anchor light on. That's called an anchor light. So even if you're sitting there, and this happens every 4th of July out on Flathead Lake, everybody gets out there, and the minute the fireworks start, everybody turns their lights off. It's like, no, you can't, because we've had people hit because they can't see you out on the water. Anytime you're on the water at night, that white navigation light, they call it an anchor light, has to be on. When you're in motion, then the red and green have to come on so you can tell which direction you're coming. So that's an easy one. And we're really starting to pick up more and more of that, especially, like I said, a couple of years ago, 4 years ago now, on the 4th of July, we had a fatality because that was the case. There's a boater coming across at night. The boat might have had his light on, but he had a big tube that covered it up. Nobody saw him, boom, got hit, and fortunately the guy ended up dying. So, you know, we're really picking up on that, and yeah, it's a rule, and yeah, we understand it, but when things get crowded, that really needs to be in place. So, best thing is, yeah, boats, set an example, drive around and let some people know, because maybe they may not know, you know, what's the red and green and what's the white for, and when do we turn them on. Other question, yes, sir?
Do you enforce dive flags?
We do, because that's part of it. You have to have your flag up and you have to be so far away from that flag. You can't do it. We just make sure it's a really new flag because some guys like to fly the old flags because they've had them forever. But it should be a buoy or it should be on your boat too. But yes, we enforce that one. You got divers on the water out here?
I dive a lot.
You dive?
A lot of times if I'm diving, if I'm entering from shore, I don't use a dive buoy because it just attracts boats.
Yeah, everybody wants to come see it. And it's like, what is this? And then there's bubbles coming up. And it's, wow, what is this? And they zip around on top of you. Yeah. But yes, we do that. And we put out a lot of brochures. Past couple of years, we've really been hitting that. Because, yeah, there's divers, a lot of people recreational dive in the water. Yes, ma'am.
What is the phone number if you see a blatant infringement and you want to call in and you get the number on the boat? What is the phone, who should you call?
The best number is that 1-800-TIP-MON.
Okay.
That one, because during the weekend, it'll go to MHP, and MHP knows if we're on or off or what warden's in the area, and they will contact somebody.
So they'll get a hold of the local person?
Yep, they'll try and get the local guy first. If they can't, they'll bump it up. They'll come to the sergeant. I get a lot of phone calls, and I try and get the closest resource out there. But it may be, like I said, if you can take a picture and describe it and get that MT number, we can always follow back up. And you'd be surprised when we knock on somebody's door a couple days later and say, hey, were you on the water at Bitter Lake? Yeah. Is this your boat number? Yeah. And we provide them all the information. Yeah, we screwed up, you know, and they'll take it that way. But good information is so valuable to making those cases.
Did you say 1-800 what?
TIPMON, T-I-P-M-O-N-T, if you spell it out on your phone. And I don't know right off the top of my head what those exact numbers are.
1-800
TIP, T-I-P,
TIP,
M-O-N-T for TIP, Montana.
Oh,
That's what that stands for. That's the easiest way to remember it.
247-6668.
There you go. If you can remember that, I can remember TIPMON. I can't remember that one. Other questions, incidents, or questions you have? Do you guys have a lot of guys fishing crawdads out here yet, like they do at McGregor?
McGregor mostly.
If you're fishing crawdads, they have to be marked. You have to have a fishing license, and you can't exceed the trap size for catching crawdads, but you can put as many of them out there. But it has to be on a float, and you have to have your ALS number or some identification so we know whose trap that is. I know McGregor's really big, and we'll pull traps every couple weeks. We go out there and check them all. And we've caught guys with way oversized traps, guys that don't have fishing licenses and doing it. So the word's getting out. I don't know if you guys have big crawdads here, but everybody likes them when they find them. Other questions? Yes, ma'am.
How close can fishermen be to your dock, especially if you're out there?
If you're up there, because it's public waters, they can fish all the way around you. They can flip their bass lures underneath your dock.
They do.
Yeah.
So there's no...
It's a courtesy thing, that's just it. You know, it's ethically, yeah, if you need to come next to somebody sitting on the dock and flip your line over there to it.
I've had them actually flip their lure on the dock.
Oh yeah, and they like to bounce it off in
Drag it
there.
off, yeah.
Yeah, and they clean their fish on our dock when we're not. And we get
They-
there's bloody stuff all over it. We have to clean it.
They set a barbecue up and,
Practically.
Sometimes, do you guys got otters up here?
yeah,
Yes.
Sometimes otters do that. I've seen them do that on docks.
sure.
They'll come up and they get out of the water, they'll eat right there, and usually they'll leave, not so much the scales, that's a different spot, where they end up pooping all that out. But they might eat fish up on there, dive out and get some more and come up.
I don't think it's odd.
yeah.
Yeah, it might not be, but
Game cam now.
I've
it's,
seen otters on someone's dock.
I've had them on my dock.
yeah, that could be that. I won't blame all the fishermen, that'd be pretty rude for a guy to do that.
Well, they do.
Yeah.
All you have to do is run down and stomp around on the dock.
That's what I was saying.
That's the end of it. Fish
Oh,
are
when
gone.
they're fishing?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Just stomp around on the dock.
Pretend I'm dancing.
Usually most of those fishermen I know real early in the morning when they're fishing for bass. They like that calm water and they'll throw it out there.
Yeah, that's where it starts when
But that's all very good.
Any other questions? Anything I can help you? We left some boating rags back there for you. We left some fishing rags and some life jacket brochures. So if you guys want them, go ahead and have at them. If you got questions or violations, call 1-800-KIPMONT. If you got questions during the day, just call our Kalispell office and we'll be glad to help you out with that as well.
Okay, so now we're going to ask all the experts, the scientists, Tyler, Russ, come on up, everybody, the experts, if you come back here, appreciate it. Babcock's over at the school working on their project. Okay, a lot of excellent questions. I learned a lot today. I hope you found this valuable, and we'll love your feedback on it. A little bit of Lake Association has its annual meeting on August 1st, advertised, if you want to come to that. Now we have a couple minutes left. It's been a good, productive, a little bit of a long day. But this would be your last chance to ask the experts. Just want to ring them up here one more time to see if anybody from previous presentations has any questions. I had one question for the warden, and that is how much for a violation for a 200-foot no wake? And the other warden, is he a warden too?
Yep.
He looked it up, $85. 85.
What does that mean?
If you create a wake within 200 feet, and you get a ticket from this kind gentleman right here, it will cost you at least $85.
Per incident or per wake?
It'd be funny if you could do it by the height of the wave.
So I suppose we could put up signs to that effect. My question for the warden is approximately how often do they come to our lake? How often do we get a visit from why are you looking at me like I do something bad on the lake? So John, how often on average or approximately would we expect to see you on our lake?
Are we underwater?
How often or approximately? I know it varies hugely, but would you say you might be here once a week, once a month, once every 2 months?
I'll be realistic with you because with Wes being out here, and like I said, everything else, probably once every 3 weeks. And part of that may be the middle of the week because we get complaints with guys taking over limit of fish. The weekends, we're swamped. There are 16 game wardens in all of northwest Montana, and that includes Idaho, up to Canada, down to the reservation, and up to the divide. So on any given weekend, there's a lot of bodies of water these guys cover. That's why I say if you guys start seeing a real high incidence of stuff, let Wes know, and if it's underage drinking or something the county can address, get on those guys and just keep hounding them until they come out and help us out. And we may do a joint saturation patrol. We may pull Nate, Wes, and maybe myself, and we'll hit it real hard for a day. And you know what happens? It dives down, but then over time it climbs back up. So.
Is there a phone number for Wes, or how do we get in touch with him?
Montana tip.
What is Wes's? Look it up for you.
Okay.
FWP.
You can call Region 1 and they'll hook you up with it.
Yeah, if you call our office.
Call Region 1, that's the easy way.
Okay.
Yeah, but on the weekend you won't get a hold of us.
That's true.
Have all their contacts.
He's in me.
Yeah.
If you want to give that out, you can. I'm not going to do that.
Oh, if you got Wes's right up front.
Okay.
Well, this is his office number.
Well,
That's even better. They'll never get him there.
You won't get mad.
Hey, you're just contacting them for a follow-up, though. This is not something you can do anything about immediately.
Yeah, and he doesn't actually work out of our office. So he works out of his home because we just don't have enough office space. And it's easier if he works from where he's at rather than come to the office every day. So Wes's number, he's going to love this when I tell him that.
Call very often.
Yeah, but if you have something, this is the way to do it. And leave him a message because he may be out of cell coverage. 270 4220.
3220, got it.
Yep.
So everybody call him tomorrow.
And just because I will be fair to Wes, my cell number, if you can't get a hold of Wes,
Okay.
270-7748.
I got it.
Yeah, there you go. 270-7748.
All right, thanks for coming to the first annual, I don't know, little bit of a lake, Marion grade school education and awareness program day. Thanks again, have a great day.
Thank you, Danny. Thanks, Danny. Good job. Good job, my man. No problem.
Thank you. I'd love to. Yeah, I'd love to have you.
We dropped our membership. We appreciate people like you.
Glad to do it.
Okay.
You know, I learned a lot today.
I know.
Right,
Yeah.
really interesting.
Yeah.
Each one of these presenters really did.
Yeah, good job. Thank you.
It seems like 2 would probably be good.
I think so.
All right, thanks for coming to the first annual, little bit of a lake, Marion grade school